Guys, it's Vandiazel back again with another Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to Patreon. And let's get this one started. Today we have Orfist for set 3. Orfist has got some interesting support in set 3. Definitely the one I questioned the most. I don't know why. When I first saw them, I questioned if I should put them in or not. And then I put them in. It did really well. We got the new order that gets very annoying very quickly. And then we have a really interesting grade 1 that does a lot of work in the defensive lineup when you need him. So let's go ahead and get this deck started because it's really fun. First up, we have our starter in Cardinal Fang Phovi, 6k base, 5k shield, grade 0 with boost. Auto when it's wrote upon if you want second draw a card. Nothing too special about it, it's a standard starter. It doesn't even have an ability to activate in Soul or when it's wrote upon by the specific grade 1, or the grade 1 has when you have it in Soul. But it's still a good starter, and it's part of the Cardinal line, which also dictated my trigger lineup. Yes, I still do this. I will never not do this, unless I, for some reason, get rid of that mentality that I should not run all the Cardinals. Then, yes, I would do that. But at this point, my trigger lineup is fixed to the Cardinals, which we'll get to in a hot second. So we have our over trigger, which is Star Dragon, Deity of Infinitude, Eldo Breath, 5k base, 50k shield, grade 0 with boost. Over trigger, you may have one over trigger in your deck. Remove it as a trigger, remove that card, draw a card, choose one of these, and it gets +1 million for the turn. If revealed during a draft check, activates additional effect, which is double the power and critical of all your front row until end of turn. Increase to double its power and critical when activated. So basically, everything in your front row is going to double crit at the very least, unless it has no crit to begin with, for some reason, Zorga, ahem. Then this is already a really good card because that doubles your crit to 2 on every unit in the front row, especially if you're rushing, which is really easy to do at Orfist, followed by double their power. And Orfist was already, in my opinion, like the most power-based deck, like the one that could hit the power threshold the easiest, because on turn 3, on the first grade 3 turn, they can get 30k power or just off one column, and probably more just by any other means of interaction. Actually, no, now they can do 40 power, so yeah, Orfist already had the strength. Now they have more, because you can just bring that to an 80. So, I mean, not to an 80, but somewhere in your 80s. So, Eldo Breath, interesting over trigger, and definitely works with this deck the most, one of. Then we have 3 draw triggers in Cardinal Fang Fulgrus, 4 front triggers in Cardinal Draco Enpyro, 4k base, 15k shield, grade 0 with boost. Front trigger, continuous guard circle. If your opponent's vanguards are grade 3 or greater, this unit gets plus 5k shield, so it's a 20k shield. Nothing too special about it. I mean, yeah, the 20k shield does end up coming in helpful during the late game. During early game, I definitely don't say Orfist needs this, because I rarely need to guard during the early game, considering Orfist kind of just wipes out the early game. And then Cardinal Draco Barbizonde, 5k base, 15k shield, grade 0 with boost, just a standard critical trigger. If you want to do this smart, remove this critical, or remove the draw, and replace it with Robocop, aka the thing that goes to Soul and gets you +2. Because the deck, in my opinion, does have a Soul problem. Here's the thing, though. I refuse to do that because that card's a Cardinal, not a Cardinal. If it was a Cardinal, I would do it. Is this a stupid way to go about building a deck? Yes, I agree with that. But I'm not going to fix that. So if you want to play it smart, run Robocop at 4 and replace either the draw with it or this crit with it, or I'd probably replace the draw knowing myself. But otherwise, keep it this way. I know none of you are going to do that, but still. Next up, we have our heal trigger in Cardinal Prima Nabilem. She's here because she's a Cardinal. That is literally what this whole trigger lineup is. Just straight up Cardinals plus the over trigger. The only exception of that rule are over triggers and PGs and sometimes very select cards if I just really want to run those select cards. So let's go into the grade 1s. First up, we have our only other non-Cardinal card, which is Violate Dragon, 6k base, grade 1 boost, 0 shield. Gets you a Sentinel, you have to 4 Sentinels in the deck. Auto, when it's placed on guard circle, choose one of your units and it cannot be hit on a battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from hand and discard it. So, really nice PG. It's if only this and one other card is in your hand, when you play this down, you don't have to discard, which is really nice. So you can kind of save it for last. And if you have 2 PGs, and that's 2 free PGs for you. And all around, it's really good. This deck definitely needs it in the late game, because I've noticed when I play with this deck, in the early game, I do really good. Like, first grade 3 turn, I do really good. Second grade 3 turn is when I start getting derailed a lot. And then third grade 3 turn is where I'm starting to scramble for defenses, because I may or may not have wasted all of my resources in the early game trying to kill them fast. So, Violate Dragon is really nice. It definitely helps out the playstyle of running blindly and then let Destiny decide what occurs next. So 4 copies. Really nice. And my only wish is that he was a Cardinal card, because he feels like he would be a Cardinal card. Next up, we have Cardinal Thumborino, 8k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. Auto rear, when this unit boosts a Shadow Army token, if you may have that unit get plus 15 for the turn. This unit get plus 15 for the turn. And if you do at the end of the battle, retire all your rear guards in the same column as it and draw a card. So basically, combine this with any Shadow Army token, which are 15k bases, plus this skill, so 23, 15, 38k swing. And if we combine it with a new order, 43k swing, at the end of the battle, you nuke the column and you draw a card, preventing them from, like, imprisoning your stuff or, like, doing something with your side of the board there. So unless they're playing Chaos and Premium, they can't really touch you. Or, I guess, Chaos V to some extent, because they can somewhat touch you. So 2 copies of Thumborino, because it's really nice, gets you power, and prevents them from targeting your units. 3 copies of our new Grade 1 Cardinal Fang Cinetia, 8k base, 5k shield, Grade 1 with boost. Auto rear, when your Vanguard is attacked, retire this unit, choose one of your Vanguards, and if your world is Dark Knight, it gets plus 5k for the battle. If it is Abyssal Dark Knight instead of Dark Knight, it gets plus 10k for the battle. Now, that is interesting, because I like that, since it replaces the 5k shield value, because you can call this down to board, and then you can just sack it, and you still get the 5k shield. So there's reasons to... this deck can be slightly more aggressive than other decks, because it can just replace the shield value. If you're in Dark Knight, and it's for free, so you don't have to counterblast or soul blast for it, and if you're in Abyssal Dark Knight, you'll get the 10k instead, so it's actually better to call it to rear. I like this Grade 1 a lot. My only thing about this is, and this is a nitpicky thing, and I don't really care which one it is, I still like this ability, but I wish instead of it being an Abyssal Dark Knight, you get plus 10, it gives you plus 5 for the turn, making it a lot easier to guard permanently. I still like the plus 10 ability, but I kind of wish it was the plus 5 for the turn instead of the 10k for the battle. But yeah, the 10k for the battle makes it slightly more balanced. So 3 copies of Cinetia, really nice, and I love this Grade 1. And then we have Cardinal Prima Ecolpa, 3 copies, 8k base, 5k shield, Grade 1 with boost. Auto rear, when this unit attacks or boost, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, retire Shadow Army token, countercharge 1. Okay, yeah, this deck somewhat gets into the counterblast problem too. This deck definitely has more of a soul blast problem than a counterblast problem, because I do not run soul charges. But then again, you do not need soul charges, especially with the way I do things. So Ecolpa is really nice, because she can just nuke your Shadow Army tokens, which you don't need anymore, so you can just attack with them first, then use that to countercharge and kind of refund half of Orfist cost, or at least the order's cost that can call Shadow Army tokens, and then you kind of just wait it out till next turn and call tokens, and unless like they're constantly trying to push you with damage starving, they will not be able to stop you from killing them. So 3 copies of Ecolpa really helps with the cost of counterblasting. Next up, we have Cardinal Noid Routis, 8k base, 5k shield, Grade 1 with boost. Auto, when it's placed on Vance, switch it effort to 1 world card. Reveal it, put it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. Continuous rear, during the battle that attacked or boosted. If your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets plus 2. So obviously the main Grade 1 of the Ride line, we do not run in the main deck. There's no reason to run in the main deck. I did run in the main deck just because there weren't enough Cardinal cards. Yes, once more, I still do that. I don't run it anymore now, thanks to other cards coming in set 2. So it's really nice because you can just get a search of your world cards, and because you need 2 worlds to be an Abyssal Dark Knight, this just gets you half of it, which is really nice, and I like that about Routis. So all around, he's a nice Grade 1, one of in the ride deck, no in the main deck, because there's no reason to. On to Grade 2s, we run 3 copies of Cardinal Draco Alviderd. Alviderd. Why does this sound so familiar? It sounds like Alviderd, I don't know why. Tell me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, because I don't know why. It sounds like Alviderd in my head. 10k base, 5k shield, Grade 2 with intercept. Continues rear during your turn. If your world is Dark Knight, it gets plus 2. If it's Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets plus 5 instead. So it's either a 12k swinger or a 15k swinger on the rush turns, which is really nice. And auto rear, at the end of the battle that it attacked, retire a Shadow Army token. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So basically, boost it with the token. You're probably at plus 30. Kill the token, and you can retire a rear guard. So all around, really nice. I hate fighting against this card because every time I fight against this deck, somehow it's always when I'm using Nirvana, and Mandala, whenever he uses this, will literally target Urgur to death. I do not know, well actually yes, I understand why he targets Urgur, but he will never let me use Urgur. Why will you not let me use Urgur? I like intercepting with Urgur, let me use it! 3 copies of Alviderd, or Alviderd, whatever you choose to call it. In my mind, he's Alviderd now. He's just a really good Grade 2 who can kill rear guards and get a decent amount of power out of it. 3 of. 4 of this son of a bitch, Cardinal Draco Destere. I probably went the whole video without cussing, and then I just kind of ruined it because I chose to... I don't know if I did, but if I did, then I just ruined that whole entire thing. But 10k base, 5k shield, Grade 2 with intercept. Continues rear. If your world is Dark Knight, it gets plus 2. If it's Abyssal Dark Knight instead, it gets plus 5, active on both players' turns. So, it's this literally the same thing as this, but you can use it during the opponent's turn as well. So it's a 12k base during both players' turns, or a 15k base during both players' turns. Okay, in my opinion, the 15 doesn't matter, because I will never swing for the rear guard, and even if I do, I typically just swing for the rear guard with lower power, or like the thing that has the most threat, and this does not seem like the most threat, but even then I'll just swing into it with a big number, so it's not like that 15 matters that much anyways. I mean, it matters in terms of like slightly less guarding, but still, That is very annoying during attacking. And auto rear, at the end of the battle that it attacked, retire 3 Shadow Army tokens, stand it. So you kill half your board, and it gets a restand. Now here's the thing of why I dislike this. One of the attacks are going to be extremely weak between it. Unless you just start shoving triggers and persona rides on this, one of your swings is going to be 15. And I have been in that situation before, and then the other swing, you're probably going to boost it with the token, so it's going to be for 30. So one of its attacks are always weaker, and then one of its attacks are decently big. Like how I normally do it is I call 3 tokens, 2 to a column, 1 behind Van, swing with Van, try to get as much triggers as possible, stack them onto this thing, swing with the token column, they take a damage, sir. Swing with Destarde without the boost, nuke the rear guards, and then restand it. Swing with Destarde with the boost, it's probably not a token, and then, you know, at least they guard it for a decent amount. All around, this card's really good. It gets you that extra attack, it gets you more power, and it definitely forces out more guarding. Like, it is slightly less than a full Shadow Army token rush, but on the turns that you can't do this, the thing is fucking deadly, so 4 copies. And then our last grade 2, which is our grade 2 of the ride line, Cardinal, Noid, Cubisia, 10k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept, auto van, when a world is put into your order zone, choose one of your units and it gets plus 5k for the turn. So pretty much just play an order on your grade 2 turn, which you're almost guaranteed to get because this literally searches an order, and then you can get this in plus 5, or if you do what I do, you can just call a token and give that plus 5 to make it harder to guard, and continues rear during your turn. If your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets plus 5 for the turn. I mean, just gets plus 5 in general. So basically what these two do, except you do not run this in the main deck because these two do its job for it, but better, and even the Vanguard ability inherently is not that good because a lot of people I see rarely guard during the grade 2 turn of Cardinals. So like, I don't know why they do that. I mean, I don't do it either. Like, I will genuinely just like take it unless I see a trigger and I happen to have like an extra 5k lying around, then yeah, I'll do it, but otherwise I tend not to guard. So that ability in my opinion is like not that good, but sure. Like if it was just a draw instead, like what the card from Lyrical Monasterio does, the grade 2 that when you play a gem you draw a card, yeah, if they had that in this, then yeah, I would like this a lot, but it doesn't. It's still an okay card, just not in the scenario where it goes off. So 1 copy though, just in the ride deck, because there's no point to put in the main deck. And then we have 4 copies of our only grade 3 and our main grade 3, 1 of in the ride deck, 3 of in the main deck, Cardinal Deus, Orfist, or as my friend found out, God of Machinery Death, and Chaos Breaker's Descendant. I mean, look at this thing. It looks like Chaos Breaker. 13k base, grade 3 Twin Jet Persona Ride. Continuous Vanguard rear during your turn. If your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets plus 5k power. So it's an 18k swinger regardless of which world you're in, as long as you have one of them. And this guarantees that you're going to have one of them, so you have no excuse not to hit that. And Act Van, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, counterblast 2 and call up to 3 Shadow Army tokens to rear. Your world changes when you play a specific order. Shadow Army has power 15 and boost. So 15k grade 1s. Yeah. Really interesting. You get just 3 tokens for counterblasting 2. It is not once per turn. That is a misconception, I think, for some people. Like, I know a few people who think this is once per turn. I know I thought it was once per turn until my friend told me, like, yeah, it's not. It's just most people choose not to use it more than once per turn because that would be a counterblast 4 for a call of 5, which is okay in a way because you're like getting 1 more call than the amount of counterblast you're playing. But like, especially nowadays, you do not need to pay 4 counterblasts because you actually have really good rear guards. Like, yeah, set 1. Okay, there are scenarios where I can imagine that you would want to just counterblast 4 and then call 5 tokens. And now with the new order, there is a somewhat of exceptional reason because if you have just one of them down, all those tokens are 20k bases. So then 2 columns are hitting for 40s. The Vanguard column's hitting for like 38. But now, like, there's no real reason to do it because you actually have decent grade 2s that can take advantage of that. So, but yeah, if you wanted to do it for some reason, like if you don't have the best hand and you have the 4 counterblast lying around, you could definitely just go counterblast 4, call 5 tokens. There's no one stopping you. So 4 copies of Orfist because it's really good in that regard. Next up, we have Eclipsed Moonlight, a grade 2 normal order, set order. After set order is played, it goes to order zone. Play it by counterblasting 1. Auto, when it's put into your order zone, call a Shadow Army token to rear. And continuous order zone. If your order zone has only world cards, the following effects are active, equal to the number of cards in order zone. 1 card, your world becomes Dark Knight. 2 or more cards becomes Abyssal Dark Knight. So a way to get a Shadow Army token just by being played, it is somewhat the same thing as Orfist. You counterblast 1, you get 1 token, which is perfectly fine. And it has the ability that all world orders have where it becomes Dark Knight and Abyssal Dark Knight, depending on how many world cards are in your order zone. So 4 copies of this. It's really nice. It is very easily searchable by Routis. Yes, I only run 8 orders. It's rare. It's really rare that you don't pull out both orders. Or it's rare for me. Somehow my friend never draws like 2 orders easily. Somehow, like he always gets the one from Routis, and then like it's always a 50-50 bet whether he actually gets the other order or not, which is really funny. And then for some reason I have never bricked with the orders. I don't know why. It will always never not happen. So 4 copies of Eclipsed Moonlight, really nice. I like the name, and its holo looks really good. And then we have our last order and our last card, grade 3 set order of Beyond the Perpetual Time. After set order is played, it goes to Order Zone. Play it by Soul Blasting 2. Okay, in my original build, I ran the original grade 2 normal set order where you Soul Blast 1 and draw a card instead of this because I thought the deck needed more draws. Fuck, that screwed over my entire deck because it, like, screwed over my Soul Blast. It screwed over everything, and I regretted that decision immediately. Like, running this is a lot better. Like, I may lose a Counter Blast, but I'm fine with that in comparison to losing my Soul. Because this order, it has an auto ability instead of an on-place ability, which is actually really nice, which is Auto Order Zone. When your Shadow Army token is placed, it gets +5 for the turn. So now your 15k tokens become 20k tokens, which is really nice, and it's stacked. So if you have 2 of these, like I typically will get 2 of them in a match. Like, yeah, I have to wait for a second grade 3 turn to get them, because that's normally the turn I Persona Ride and get like my second soul for it. When you play 2 of these, that is +10, which means those tokens are swinging for 25k each, and if you have 2 of them in the same column, it's 50k swings. So, all around, orders are really good. Plus, you can just sack the tokens, and then keep calling them back and get more power out of them. So, all around, order, really nice. I love this thing. 4 of, because if you somehow get 4 of these out, which is a miracle on its own, but if you somehow do it, then that's +20k to a token when it's placed. So, really nice. And then we have our token, which is just, the 15k grade 1 with boost. All around, these get really annoying very quickly. Like, they hit for a lot of numbers. Like, unless you have a deck that can guard a lot, you're definitely screwed. Like, I know Bazvagra, she can handle these pretty easily because she can just get the grade 1s, guard with them, and like Kieta, or somewhat like Kieta, it doesn't matter because the cards can be called to rear guard and still be useful. Like, you guard with them, and then you can use Bazvagra to call them to rear guard, so you're not really losing out on the aggressive fodder. Like, decks like that can hold the defense and aggressive really well will definitely be able to fight against this deck on an even term, but like decks that excel in one and not in the other will definitely falter the second this deck does what it needs to do. So 5 of this token, if you want to run more just so you can call over one of them, fair enough. So 5 of this thing. And then that's the deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is really fun. It's one of my favorite decks of just... It's not really one of my favorites, but it's one of my, I guess, favorites in terms of how it works, because this deck definitely does a lot. I remember when it first got revealed, I was disappointed in it mainly because the deck didn't feel like... I thought it would be like something related to Chaos Breaker because of how Orfist looked. It didn't, and I was a bit disappointed in that. And then this came along, and now suddenly the deck is really good with a lot of power, and has become slightly the bane of my existence, mainly because of their over trigger. But still, they become the bane of my existence just because of how much power they can get. All around, it's a fun deck playing against. It's definitely a fun deck playing. So if you want to use this deck, go ahead. Like I said, you might want to throw in Robocop just because it actually has a use, but I refuse to throw in Robocop. So I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join to the Patreon, join the Discord, follow the Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your vanguards.